Welcome back in, everybody, to Gamecock Central. I'm Kendall Smith, joined alongside of Wes Mitchell, back here with another recruiting rundown. Wes, I was just telling you before we clicked record, I miss you guys so much, and I am so excited to be back here and talking with you today. We had a big weekend in Columbia, and I know you were keeping up with all of it. Some big time official visits for Shane Beamer and company, and we're going to go through it all today, right?
We are. Yeah. Welcome back, Kendall. I was about to introduce myself. I haven't seen you in so long. So glad that we're doing this again. And, it's been a busy June for South Carolina. And like you said, they capped it off with another big recruiting weekend, official visit weekend this past week.
Yeah, so South Carolina going so far 1 for 4 on those OVs. So they've officially gotten a commitment out of David Busey. He's a 3-star safety out of Savannah Christian Prep in the class of 2024. But Wes, I want to go down the list of the other 3 guys that took OVs this past weekend and check in with you on kind of where they stand, who the competition for South Carolina is, and what their timeline might be for making a decision. So let's start things off with a name that everybody knows. It is 5-star edge Dylan Stewart. He's got some big decisions to make. He's a huge target for South Carolina. He has been for quite some time. So, Wes, what do you know about his official visit and when we could possibly hear from him?
Yeah, he's the one guy out of these 4 that we do not have a direct reaction from at this point. I had heard going into the official visit, Kendall, that it had reached the point where he's doing fewer and fewer interviews, and that's been the case after this OV as well. Generally, that can be a sign either a guy is tiring of the process or they may be closing in on a possible decision. The belief right now is that he is looking at a summer decision. So obviously that would mean in the next month, maybe 2 months, South Carolina fans could find out if the Gamecocks are able to land Stewart. You can look at the top 5. Those schools, some of them are in it. Some of them, I would say, not so much. I think you can probably actually whittle this thing down to 2, maybe 3 schools. The 2 teams we've heard the most about would be South Carolina and Ohio State. Georgia hanging in there as well. We know what Georgia's done on the recruiting front. You can never quite count Georgia out. So we're keeping them kind of in it in our unofficial grouping here. But I think very safe to say South Carolina, Ohio State, the top 2 right now. I think Gamecocks feel good. I think Ohio State probably actually feels pretty good as well. We at Gamecock Central would probably slightly lean to South Carolina right now. But anytime you're battling it out for a guy who On3 has as the number 1 overall prospect in the entire country, it is going to be a fight to the very end. We saw that last year with Nick Harbor, how it went back and forth down to the very hours up to his decision. So if you're a Gamecock fan, you should feel good, but you should never quite feel like it's over until it's actually over.
You bringing up the Nick Harbor situation brings me right back to that day. Those stress levels were incredibly high, not only for you, but for me, for the entire fan base. And I know with this situation, it's music to everybody's ears when they hear, oh, it might be a slight lean to South Carolina right now. But again, staying cautiously optimistic, as we like to say on that situation. Switching sides, though, to the offensive side of the ball, South Carolina also had a 4-star wide receiver recruit, Jonathan Paylor, in town this past weekend. He's another guy that South Carolina really, really likes. What do you think about him, Wes? And what do you think he thinks about South Carolina after that visit?
Yeah, awesome kid, Kendall. And every time you talk to him, he just gives you these long, actually thoughtful, deep answers. So, he had a great time. He actually kind of has a great time everywhere he goes. That's kind of how he is as a person. So I think, first of all, if Carolina gets him, will be a super fit for just what they're trying to build as far as this program goes. I think the Gamecocks are the leader here. They've been the leader for a while. NC State is the biggest competition. Obviously, an in-state school for him being from North Carolina. Those schools have kind of battled it out. He put out his official top 5 actually earlier this week, and it was those 2 schools, North Carolina, Maryland, and Penn State. I would think North Carolina's probably 3rd, but as far as real factors, it seems like it's South Carolina and NC State. Kind of similar to Stewart, though. I think the Gamecocks are are feeling pretty good about where they're at. You never can quite count out that home state school because he's been there a ton, likes their coaches, and he actually is looking at a decision July 28th. He told us that's not locked in as a decision date, but that's sort of what they're aiming for. So pretty safe bet it's going to either be on that day or a couple of days on the either side of it. They're kind of working out the logistics of, making sure the school is available, making sure they can actually do it that day. But so end of July is a safe bet for Paylor's decision.
Well, we know a lot of these guys like to make the decision before they start off their senior year football season, kind of get it over with so that way they can go into the season and focus on what they need to in terms of their high school teams. But July 28th coming up here soon. It'll be here before we know it. So be sure to stay tuned over on GamecockCentral.com. We'll have plenty more on Paylor, Stewart, and then, of course, Daniel Hill, who's another one we've got to talk about. He took his official visit at South Carolina this past weekend. He's a 4-star running back. Wes, what's the word on Hill?
Yeah, Gamecock fans will be excited to know that I think Carolina leads here as well. He has been a huge target for them. Very, very big priority. I think this is one of those guys Gamecock fans have really let themselves start to dream about as well, as far as adding a big-time back. And that was kind of the message to him is, hey, you're the missing piece in this offense. Need a workhorse back. Need a guy who can come in and carry the load. And, I think he left Columbia on Sunday feeling like he can probably come in and be that guy. As with kind of all these guys, Kendall, when you start getting to the finish line, that's when every school, every coaching staff, they start to make their final push, their final pitch. It kind of tightens up at the end, and that's kind of been the case with him. It tells you a little bit about how good of a player he is when you have Nick Saban in Alabama trying to fight it out to get him, and that's kind of been the case. He took his OV there the weekend prior, was back at Alabama for an unofficial visit midweek last week. So Gamecock fans, I think, started to get a little bit nervous. I never count Saban out. Like that's not smart to count those guys out. But again, if we're putting these on percentages, when you're talking about recruiting, there's no sure things. Like we know these are high school kids. They could wake up, they could change their mind twice, within a morning. So you never quite lock it in, but I think the Gamecocks are feeling really good here about Daniel Hill, and I do too as far as their chances, and he would be a fantastic pickup for them. Another guy that's just an awesome personality. Fans will love him if they get him, and a versatile guy, can catch the football, can make plays happen, is a great defensive player at the high school level as well. So really a fantastic fit for South Carolina on multiple levels.
Well, Wes, it seems like out of the 4 guys that came to visit this past weekend, you feel really good about the 3 that haven't committed. Again, South Carolina receiving that commitment after the OV from David Busey. Again, a 3-star safety out of Savannah Christian Prep. But Wes, what do you think the odds are that the Gamecocks go 4 for 4 out of the guys that just visited this past weekend?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you put individually percentages, you feel like they're in the top spot, I would say, with all the guys. But then, it's kind of close enough that you don't necessarily want to predict that they will definitely go 4 for 4 because you're worried about Ohio State with Stewart. You got to consider Alabama. I think that they're definitely going to find a way to go 3 for 4. I think the big question is, can they hold off Ohio State with Dylan Stewart and hold off any other twists or turns that may come? Because the more you see South Carolina get in, my words, the big boy recruiting battles, Kendall, it gets crazy at the end. So it's never a sure thing. And I keep going back to Harbor. They showed they can win one of those, and it was a true battle to the end. So we'll see if they can do the same with Dylan Stewart. If they do, obviously you're getting a great player, but it's a position of need as well with some of the guys South Carolina has lost at that edge position the last couple of seasons. They're going to love to add a guy that talented, but a guy who could come right in and play early for Sterling Lucas at that position.
If I had $1 for every time you said big boy recruiting battles,
you wouldn't have to work.
Millionaire. I wouldn't have to work anymore, but it's all good because South Carolina, of course, getting in those big boy recruiting battles means they're continuing to move up in the world of college football. Speaking of, Wes, what do we got?
Yeah, Kendall, I was going to let you read this, but I'll just go ahead and do it for you. Our friend
Wes is here
Andy
at job for
Ludicky, from My Perfect Franchise. You can find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. Contact Andy. His email address is very, very simple. It's Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. You can give him a call or shoot him a text, 404-973-9901. And basically what Andy does is he is a franchise consultant as well as a franchise owner, and he helps people find franchises that fit their skill sets, financial requirements, time to commit, and much more. The great thing about this is that his services are 100% free. He's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. So basically, if you are tired of just being a worker who has to work for somebody else, you want to start your own business, Andy will help match you up with a franchise that fits your needs. So Kendall, if you want to run a Firehouse Subs,
I'm
Andy,
getting a Chipotle. I'm telling you.
Andy,
I was
okay,
there
there you go.
and the line was all the way down Tryon Street in Uptown Charlotte. So that's where I need to go. That's the cash cow Chipotle. But Firehouse is too.
What's your Chipotle order?
It has to be a burrito bowl. I get white rice, black beans, no meat, guacamole, corn salsa, mild, and lettuce. And then I really like their agave drink that they have. It's orange. It's amazing.
Oh, their dressing is really, really good. But you gotta have some chicken in there, Kendall. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't do the chicken. I'm not vegetarian or vegan or anything. I just don't really do chicken at places like that. No offense. That's just my take. Wes, really quick, what would your franchise be if you had to get a franchise? You're a Firehouse Subs guy, so
it's got to be Firehouse Subs for me.
We are big Firehouse Subs people all around.
Got to be Firehouse Subs. That I could eat it for free every day, and I would be the happiest Gamecock media person on the planet.
You are the happiest Gamecock media person on the planet, because speaking of Firehouse Subs, we have the Gamecock Central Hour every single day on 107.5 The Game. Hopefully I'll jump on there sometime soon and talk to you guys. I feel like I've been away from 107.5 for far too long. I've been away from Columbia for far too long, and it's been 2 months. But I still plan to stick around and, be here from time to time. So you won't have to say goodbye to me just yet, GC Nation. You still get to be stuck with me for a little bit longer. And that first game here in Charlotte coming up on September 2nd, South Carolina, North Carolina. I'll be here. Wes will be here. We're going to have a great time in South Carolina, having a great time on the recruiting trail right now. We'll keep you posted with everything you need to know on Gamecock Central. But Wes, appreciate you as always. Appreciate your insight and all that you are doing for South Carolina and all of our wonderful GC subscribers. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you soon. This has been the Recruiting Rundown. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. Have a great day, everybody.